I'm Michael Smith, and I make, I guess, a variety of work. I do video, performance, installation, maybe a little photography, and a lot of the work centers around a persona or two. I do a character named Mike, and also one named Baby Ikki. So the baby came out of an idea of a kind of a genderless or a neutral, kind of, not neutral, but sort of lacks gender. At the time I thought of an infant where it's not quite clear. It was sort of at the time of a lot of feminist discussion in the early 70s, so I came up with this idea of the baby. It sort of brings out in people this kind of nurturing, protective instinct, but then a repellent, and so they don't know where to go with it. And I've performed it on the streets. I spent a week at Burning Man as the baby. I've performed it in Europe in a store window, at a department store window. The baby's been at children's birthday parties. One time I performed at a stand-up club as the baby in New York. I went to Catch a Rising Star, and I got in line and got my number and did the baby. And right before I went on, they put David Brenner. I don't know if you know him. He is a famous comic, stand-up comedian who hosted The Tonight Show. He appeared. So he did like 10, 15 minutes, and then they brought me on, and I bombed. I mean, the immediate image is them. The people were looking at me. They were kind of intrigued. And then it was like 78. And then after like 2 minutes, the baby doesn't do much. He doesn't talk. He doesn't, he just acts like a baby. And I got up and did my thing. And then then there's chatter going on. And the MC came up like 4 minutes into it, and he says, "Well, looks like that baby ate too many paint chips." Boom, boom, and then I was off. And it was like it took me a while before I went back to the clubs to perform. The first performance was very different. The baby talked. The baby it was sort of brought out in public. The baby sort of talked about in a really abstracted way about where it came from, and it did things like it read from a journal. He walked around on the ground. I mean, I was still getting used to who the baby was and how to perform it. So it was really awkward. He smokes a cigar. It's like these kind of cartoon versions of an adult playing a baby. But from that, doing the baby, I realized baby shouldn't talk. Baby isn't going to talk from now on. And it was and then I started to get a little better in his movement and reacting with people. I was asked to do a performance on the street in Hartford, Connecticut. I think it was like 1978. It was in the summertime. They had this program called Sidewalk Inc., where they were doing art on the streets. And they asked for the baby. So the baby went out on the sidewalk, and the baby doesn't really do much. He responds. I'll acknowledge he's a he now. The baby responds to stimulus. He was just there sitting on the side near the sidewalk, and he'd occasionally approach somebody. And then finally it was getting kind of boring and stuff, and someone gave the baby balloons, and then the balloons got away. So I guess I stayed in the character, and I went after the balloons, and they crossing the street. And I crawled in the street. Traffic got stopped for a little while, and then a policeman, I had a permit to be on the sidewalk, and the policeman interrupted me. He was really pissed at me, and then he picked me up and threw me down the sidewalk. It ended the performance. I actually skinned my leg, and it was time to end it. Once a break happens with the baby, it's I realize I'm in public, I'm dressed up as a baby, and people are looking at me. It's time to go. I was one of many artists in the 80s, performing artists, video artists, artists in general, who were interested in crossing over from like the art world into like more mainstream kind of media. My work sort of is in between the cracks, but it borrows from the conventions and the formats of commercial television, and I use those. So it has a look of, but it's not quite there. Mike is this kind of bland, nerdy kind of character, different than me. Has different beliefs than me, and he sort of has a lot of received ideas. His received ideas come as a result of what he sees in media and advertising. I'm a baby boomer, so I'm part of the TV generation. So Mike is very much influenced by all that stuff. And this was a way to respond in a kind of accepting way. Mike I guess he's thrown many parties that no one's attended. Mike built a fallout shelter in the early 80s, in response to a lot of discussion about nuclear proliferation. He had his own cable TV show. He hosted his own variety show. He owned his own business that went bankrupt. He was an artist and had a loft, went into the video production business. Now he's dealing with the idea of discovering the fountain of youth. Go For It, Mike was produced in 1984. It was in response to a lot of the election campaigning going on at the time, and it was sort of the height of Reaganomics. There was a campaign of his called Morning in America, which used all this old bankrupt Americana imagery. And before that came out, I actually did Go For It. And it was Mike on a horse as a politician. What happened is I had an opportunity to do this piece in Texas, and they had this western town there. And it was also right, around the time that MTV was kind of blossoming. So I wanted to do a music video. It was an easy way to do a production, and it was also a way to use this western town. Well, it showed in festivals. It showed actually in, I think it showed on Canadian MTV, and we won an award for it. It was perfect. It was like a Mike moment. I won a Betamax system, so this system that would soon be outdated.
Now this is the story of one regular guy who looks to the future and never asks why. He's raised on a history that feeds him his fact. It's provided him a purpose. There's nothing he lacks. Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike. Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike. He's a rugged individual with a sense of the past. He hardly stops at anything. He's moving too fast. This guy is really driven. Just look at his face. Industry was invented to keep up with his pace. Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike. Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike. Some people are born to win.
Some people are born to lose. Then there are people like me and you. Yes, there are people like me and you. Yes, there are people like me and you.
Mike quotes the manifest destiny wherever he goes. People listen to what he says, they figure he knows. He worked the land, used his hands, developed his mind. He's part of a tradition that governs mankind.
Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike. Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike.
Some people are born to win. Some people are born to lose.
Then there are people like me and you. Yes, there are people like me and you. Yes, there are people like me and you.
His buddies and his partners are making a plan, expanding all horizons wherever they can. Boy, the guys are busy, tackling all in their way. They're looking to the future, and people will say,
Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike.
Maybe I'll go for it.
Go for it, go for it, go for it, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for it.
Open House is about putting up his loft for sale, and at the same time he's putting his loft up for sale, this personal history of him is going to leave, and a lot of these works will go with the loft. I think when Open House happens, the time frame, Mike is not really making a lot of art, but his identity is connected to it, and he realizes this is a time that he needs to get this out in the world to give himself a survey exhibition. So at the same time that he's putting his loft up for sale, he has his survey exhibition. Oh, I should mention that Mike was an artist in this piece, but not a very good artist. He was a very mediocre artist, and it was filled with art that we made. It was all fake art.
Hi, I'm Mike Smith, and welcome to my open house for this historic Soho loft in which I've been living and working for over 20 years now. You may have noticed when you came in some floor plans. Please take one and feel free to use them for notes or questions. Also, on the back of the floor plan, there's a list of artworks and video works of mine which are currently on view, actually from the past 20 years. Behind you is Sweat Equity, which is the earliest piece in the show, and it was done in 1978, and it's included in the asking price. Oh, the documentation, the video Portapack documentation for Sweat Equity is playing over on the monitor to my left and your right over there. So, I'm standing in front of Sweat Equity, a piece that was constructed in 1978 by myself and Larry Zeben, who, by the way, lives on the 4th floor of this building. I did conceive it. And actually I was thinking recently of revisiting some of my early process pieces, and last night I got the idea to frame out Sweat Equity to give it a sense of definition and a passage of time. Oh, and don't forget, on the monitor back there is the black and white documentation of Sweat Equity. This is actually a very good angle to get a sense of the possibility, the potential of a live workspace. Notice that I have a screening room set up over here to watch Interstitial, a cable access show I produced from 1982 to 1985. It's playing on the monitor over there in the corner. Again, feel free to sit down and watch some selections. Also, on the south wall, which faces out onto the small garden area outside, which, by the way, is extremely private in the summer and offers a nice breeze to the space during that period, which in the loft is cool all year round. It's great. Loft living isn't for everyone. You know, it's hard to figure out how to divide the space, etc. And I want to mention that this column here, it's structural, and you have to work around it. It can't be moved. Behind me is the edit suite for interstitial ink, where I do all my commercial work. It could be used for storage or a guest room or even a baby room. I purposely turned the lights down low so you could see the video works better. But you really get great southern light through this window at around 2 o'clock. We recently put in that track lighting, a couple of years ago, and it's really great for pulling out power for lights and single-channel video installations. Like loft living, loft beds aren't for everyone, but I think they're great. They're great for storage, dividing a space. I had an old girlfriend, Iris, who just refused to go up the ladder, but I think they're cozy. They're great. The loft bed's a fixture, and it's included in the asking price. The bathroom fixtures are original, except the shower, which is almost brand new. And the faux work was done by my friend Iris Silver. If you'd like to get her phone number, I can give it to you. Just a few more details. The co-op board in the building, a very friendly, laid-back group. We meet about once a year. I'm the president, and when I leave, you can direct any questions or problems to the Gluckman estate lawyer, a very friendly guy. The scaffolding in the front, local law 10, don't worry about that. And the C of O, we're working towards that. And what else? The space has been great for me for years. What else? Soho's great.
Famous Quotes was actually a commission piece from Palais de Tokyo, and they wanted to do a magazine format show. And they asked a bunch of artists to produce segments for it. And they asked me for 1 to 3 minutes or something, or 2 to 3. So I thought magazine format show, Palais de Tokyo, French, and I thought maybe they said it possibly could continue, and I thought, well, maybe Famous Quotes. That's something, it would start a segment that I could just do again and again. So I came up with this idea of the Matisse quote. I always liked that quote with him looking at art from an armchair. Mike is he's talking about this kind of like armchair approach to looking at art, but it's his version of the armchair. It's the Barcalounger, a very luxurious Barcalounger.
Bonjour, bienvenue. Je m'appelle Michael Smith. Aujourd'hui, nous allons faire quelques citations tirées de l'essai controversé écrit en 1908 par Henri Matisse, nom d'un peintre. Ce que je rêve, c'est un acte d'équilibre, de pureté, de tranquillité, sans sujet inquiétant ou préoccupant, qui soit pour tout travailleur cérébral, pour l'homme d'affaires, aussi bien pour l'artiste des lettres, par exemple. Un lénifiant, un calmant cérébral, quelque chose d'analogue à un bon fauteuil qui le délasse de ses fatigues physiques.
I was reading a profile about Mitt Romney. They were talking about these kind of defining words for him, and it was focus, focus, focus. And I think of myself and I think of focus, 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 just trying to focus, just trying to, so I'm like all over the place. I'm just trying to like disperse and trying to like just focus. Can I focus? Can I focus? The same word, but really different feeling towards it.